बिना समझे पढ़ना, जैसे एवरेस्ट चढ़ना,
अकेले जंग लड़ना, I can't take it.
अब वेदांतु देगा प्रॉब्लम से छुटकारा। समझ आएगा तो मजा आएगा, मजा आएगा तो समझ आएगा। बेस्ट टीचर्स के गाइडेंस में पढ़ना इजियर होगा। एग्जाम या हो लाइफ, अब से हर स्टूडेंट विनर होगा। समझ आएगा तो मजा आएगा, मजा आएगा तो
Vedantu. Learn live online. To attend a free live class, download the app now.
Hey guys, good evening, namaste and welcome back to yet another session of your Class 10 ICSE Biology series. How are you all? Yes, good evening Mansi. Good evening Yash, Anwar, Aaron, Reshma, Inia. Yes. Hi Kajal, Himanshu, Aditya. Yes, Ayush. Hello to all of you. This is Ambika, Master Teacher of Biology here at Vedantu. Now, you know that we have been, okay, somebody says, ma'am, evolution is too hard. Yes, I have been seeing a lot of such comments from you in the last few days, which is why I thought of taking a break from the plant physiology chapters instead of taking up the next one. What I had in mind was photosynthesis, but because most of you requested for classes on the chapter evolution, I thought of taking it up, and today we shall be discussing one major part of the chapter evolution. Of course, I remember, like somebody said, yes, somebody, Ayush is asking me, I hope you're asking me, how is my throat? Yes, my throat is a lot better. As long as I don't start coughing, it's fine. If it starts, it's hard to get it ended. But until then, it's all right. It's pretty much back to normal shape, almost back to, I would say 98% back to normal shape. Okay, so yes, Ayush, you also requested, I remember. No, Sakshi, actually not too many topics are there in evolution. Actually, there are very few topics in it. I think, let me tell you this first before we start with the session. Now, you know what, when I was a student also, when I was in school, I don't think, I was also a CBSE, I was a CBSE student. I was not an ICSE student. In CBSE, now they have the chapter genetics and evolution in 10th, but I did not have it. Our batch did not have it. I think it was introduced much later. But when did we learn? We roughly learnt it in 11th or 12th. I think it was in 11th that we had chapters on heredity and evolution, which is now in class 12. But I very clearly remember that I hated studying the chapter evolution because I felt that I would sleep through the class. Somehow, I don't know what, I just could not remember the concepts in my head well enough. I couldn't remember the names. I couldn't, somehow that chapter was not fitting into my type, what I would say. Okay. But after that, when I reached college, again, initially, I had a dislike for that. I think in BSc final year, we had a paper on evolution, which was like almost half of one entire paper. Genetics and evolution formed cytology, genetics and evolution, I think, formed one single paper. So you can imagine how much we would have had. Okay. So that is when I actually started reading more about evolution, started understanding more about it, and understood that after all, this is how all of us have come into existence. This is how our planet Earth has come into existence. And this is how the billions and trillions of species that we see around today have come into existence. Have you ever imagined what the world would have been when it started? Yes, guys. How many of you have thought about that? How did the world, how did the earth come into existence? How did the universe come into existence? How did everything that we have on earth come into existence? Yes, Rohit says Big Bang. Very good. Yes, Ayush, I did notice it had a great race and I was very happy to see that spirit also. Okay, yes, photosynthesis will also be done next week, so don't worry, hold on. Yeah, it's all right if you don't know anything about what I asked. I can see some of you saying Big Bang. Mainly Rohit is telling me Big Bang, and we shall be looking at all of those. Although some of the things are not part of your syllabus, I think as human beings, it's important to think about this. It's important to understand, at least have some basic knowledge about what all our planet has gone through much before, millions and millions of years before we came into existence. Okay, and that is what we will be discussing in today's session. But as always, let's start with a positive quote of mind, positive frame of mind. No, Jay, you're not late. We are just getting started. Okay. Instead of worrying about what you cannot control, shift all your energy to what you can create. Now, this is very important because everyone tells you, don't worry, don't worry, don't worry. But how do you do that? It's basically a practice. It is basically, I would say, training your neurons, training your brain cells to believe that what you are doing is the best, you are doing your best, and that there are a lot of things you are capable of doing so that your future results can be the best possible that you ever dreamt of. And that is because all your energy, if you are completely focused on your end result, all of your thoughts, all your thinking, all of your energy automatically gets channelized only in the positive directions. On the contrary, if you end up having some kind of self-doubt, you don't believe yourself, you don't have enough self-confidence, if it's something like that, then probably the focus will shift towards the negative side and you end up wasting a lot of your energy multitasking. You want this, but you think you're not capable of this. So why unnecessarily do that? Every human being is capable of believing that you are capable of achieving the right thing if done in the right manner. Yes, guys? So let us all shift all our focus and all our energy only on whatever we can control. Let's not be anxious about the future. Let's not think about the past. All that we have is the present moment. Live it to the fullest. Make the best use of it. Learn whatever you can and spread around a lot of happiness. Be a happy person, and that's about it. Everything else is very, very uncertain, right? And the homework question for yesterday. Why are more number of stomata typically located on the ventral side of a leaf? Yes, like Ayush said, I did see that there was a lot of race for this. Ayush, like I noticed right after I ended yesterday's session, okay, I went out and the moment I switched on my phone, I saw that there was already an email from Ayush with the answer. And it's later that I checked the comment section, wherein again there had been a lot of race, and I saw the explanation how Ayush, you had written that you copy pasted from Word and all of that so that you could be first. I really liked reading through those messages. I felt very happy looking at the spirits. Keep up the Josh, guys. I would be very happy if you all continued being in the session and followed up the same way after every session with the same kind of healthy competition. Yes, Varshit, I have been seeing you every day. Okay, so let us look at whose answers I have. I have the very first two answers that I've got. Ayush, I got your answer on email, and here I think within a matter of a few seconds difference, Jai and Ayush had competed. Jai's answer appeared first, but pretty much around the same time. Okay, and both of you have given the right answer. This is an adaptation to reduce the amount of transpiration. If the stomata are more on the ventral surface of the leaf, it basically has two advantages. The stomata are less exposed to the sun and hence transpiration is reduced, is what Ayush says, which is completely correct. Yes, Ayush Sharma, I did see that you were third also. Unfortunately, I had to give a little bit of priority to the people who came before you, and that is why I have not mentioned your name. Again, Hasini also gave me the answer through email very quickly, but again after these two answers came. So keep up, go ahead with all our homework answers with the same spirit, guys. So this is the answer. What both of them say is that the bottom side, the ventral side of the leaf has more stomata in order to reduce transpiration. What if it was present on the dorsal surface? If that was the case all the time, it would have been exposed to a lot of sun. Transpiration would just keep happening all the time, and the plant would unnecessarily lose a lot of water content from its body. As an adaptation to prevent that, nature had a smart adaptation by giving most plants stomata on the ventral side or the lower side of the leaf. Yes? Yes, Varshit, not just you. A lot of you had given me the answer. Chinmay, a lot of you had given me the answer, as I said. But what is our game? Our game is always that we select the best and the first answer of from among whoever has answered and project their names in the next day's session. Yes, but thank you very much to all of you who answered. Some of you, I did see that you did answer while the session was happening itself, before I ended the session here. Thanks a lot. Do go ahead with the same Josh. Today again, let's see who is standing with me, staying with me until the very end, and winning the race in today's. Let's see if some new name is coming up. Okay. Yes. Okay, and do remember to hit the like button if you have not done that yet. If you have been enjoying all our sessions, share it with all your friends, especially your ICSE friends, so that they can benefit from the sessions that we have. And guys, do remember to subscribe to our channel, Vedantu 9 and 10, because we have a lot of amazing content coming up for you even in the days and weeks to come. And just in case you have not seen it, I have been, instead of doing the Monday motivation videos, I've been doing motivation videos every day, 6 a.m. in the morning. So if you have not seen it, do have a look every day. Even on Sunday, Saturday and Sunday, you will see a very short motivation video that I have been doing in the last 1 week, and this will continue for however long we can and however long you would need. Yes, Nitin. Okay. Yes, Ayush in the garden. Okay. All right, and let us start with the chapter evolution. What do you think evolution is? All of us know what evolution is. Just if I tell you the word evolution, for most of us, human evolution is what would come to our mind. So how do you define it? It is not just with humans. Evolution is something that every living species on the planet would undergo. But what is it? This is how you would define it. The gradual change in the heritable characteristics of organisms from a simple to a more complex form. If you just think of the fact that the very first organism on this planet must have been a unicellular organism from which life moved on to land, and we have the many different species we have today, and we have so many multicellular organisms in the on the planet today. All of that itself is an evidence of evolution. But how is it that we know about all this? Is it just a story like a grandmother's fairy tale that evolution happened in this manner? Thousands of years ago, man was this, man came from monkeys, and how come monkeys still exist? All of these are questions that all of us possibly have in our heads. Yes? Yes, guys. So let us see if we can understand a little bit of that. And in order to understand, we need to have an idea about how the universe came into existence. Okay. Now, for some time, I will be focusing a little less on the chats, but do remember, in case you have any questions that you want to ask me specifically, do post them in the comment section below. I will definitely be having a look at it. If it's relevant to the session, I will be answering it then and there. Okay. Just in case I happen to see it in between the session, I will answer it then and there. But if not, and if it's out of context, please post it in the comment section below. Okay. And like somebody said, the Big Bang. What do we mean by that? Bang is what happened. This is a theory that was proposed by a priest, okay, in the year 1931, and he proposed that the universe perhaps started off billions of years ago from an unimaginably hot and dense tiny dot. Can you imagine? Unimaginably hot and tiny dot. And then suddenly for some strange reason, for some unknown reason, a huge bang occurred, which is called the Big Bang. Okay, literally it was a bang, and then everything exploded. The dot began to continuously expand after this. It just continuously and unlimitedly, it just kept on and on and on, growing and expanding and spreading. Eventually it cooled down and formed the stars and galaxies that we know in today's universe. Yes, this is just a picture representing the Big Bang, the first seconds, after 3 minutes, after 300,000 years, after 1 billion years, and today what we have on this planet. Yes, guys, this is not very relevant as far as your syllabus is concerned, but it's important to understand evolution right from the start of the universe, which is why I started with this particular topic. Now, universe came, but how did life originate? There are a lot of theories that try to explain the origin of life, some of which seem very, very lame, some of which make a lot of sense, but the most well accepted one is a theory proposed by a scientist called Alexander Oparin. What did he say? In roughly around the year 1925, now he was a Russian biochemist, he hypothesized the progression from simple chemistry to living cells. How did life even come into existence? Yes, the early ocean, initially the world or the earth just had a lot of oceans, it just had a lot of water. The early ocean, Oparin assumed it to be a soup, a primordial soup. What did it have? He assumed that it has a rich collection of a lot of complex molecules produced by natural chemical reactions, nothing man-made. Everything just naturally occurring in nature, everything just naturally occurring in the environment, in the medium water. The primordial soup, as he liked to call it. And this soup, he assumed, could have been struck by some energy, some form of energy, like an electric discharge, such as lightning possibly, because that must have come through, struck through, and further reactions would then have been initiated. After some kind of lightning reaction, further reactions must have happened, protein molecules must have formed, eventually the first living cells must have been formed, and from that it slowly evolved into whatever we see on this planet today. Yes, guys, this is the story of the origin of life. Of course, that was just a hypothesis, but Oparin's theory seemed to make a lot of sense, and Urey and Miller were two scientists who went on to experimentally demonstrate Oparin's theory also, and that is one of the most well accepted theories about the origin of life on this planet. Okay, and now let us understand what is more relevant to your syllabus as far as your exams are concerned: the theories of evolution. What do I even mean by that? How does evolution happen? Now, many different scientists put in their own thoughts, they put in their own philosophies. Some of them were sensible enough to apply some science and logic to it. Some of them just applied, godly and such theories to the theory of evolution. So whatever it is, a lot of people came forward with it, but there were two scientists who became the most famous for their theories of evolution, and we shall be discussing those two in the next few minutes. Okay, so stay tuned. Let's look at the very first one. Yes, this gentleman you see here, Jean-Baptiste Lamarck, was the very first person, the very first scientist or the very first naturalist to have come up with some sensible explanation of the theory of evolution. What is it that he said? Lamarck said that if an organism changes to adapt to its environment, those changes are passed on to its offspring. Okay? Think of it. Okay, just imagine it in your mind. Don't just blankly look at the screen or blankly listen to me. Imagine, can it possibly happen? Okay, that is what I want to do while I'm explaining this. And after this, what did he say? A more frequent and continuous use of any organ gradually strengthens, develops, and enlarges that particular organ. At the same time, permanent disuse of any organ weakens and deteriorates it. Yes. Now what is coming to my mind is, if the second point was actually true, I think the human brain would stop being a functional organ within the next few thousands of years, because these days technology has taken over so much. We tell our machines to think instead of us, so much so that we don't use our brain at all, not even 1% of our brain, it is said. Okay, so if that was the case, our brain would become a vestigial organ for sure. Yes, so just think about whether this is making sense or not. This is anyway what Lamarck said. And because of this, this theory came to be called the theory of inheritance of acquired characteristics, or the theory of use and disuse. Why do we give these two names? Now, the first point, if you look at it, says anything that an organism achieves in its lifetime. Say for instance, you're walking out in the sun for a very long time, okay, bright afternoon sun, you don't have any sunscreen on, you're not holding an umbrella, you're not wearing a hat, nothing like that, you're getting badly tanned. Imagine if Lamarckism was true. According to Lamarck, that tanned shade of your skin would be passed on to your children. That is why this point, according to this point, we call it inheritance of acquired characteristics. What are acquired characters or acquired characteristics? Those that an organism would acquire in his or her lifetime. And if it's inheritance of those characters we are talking about, it is the theory of inheritance of acquired characteristics. Yes, exactly, acquired or passed on. The second point is what gives the name use or disuse theory. Because according to this, the more you use an organ or a part of your body, the better it would develop into, or the better it would develop, and the opposite also stands true. And that is why we have these two names for Lamarckism, the theory by Lamarck, okay, that is what Lamarckism means, theory of inheritance of acquired characteristics, or the theory of use and disuse. Okay, the name itself is self-explanatory. Now, yes, like Ayush says, giraffe grows its neck. Lamarck explains this with the help of the example of giraffe. You know what the story that Lamarck said? Lamarck in fact said that giraffes initially were short-necked animals. So look at that, just look at that. Giraffes were short-necked animals. Look at that, it's just eating from a normal bush, from a normal height. Okay, and eventually what happened was, there came a point of time when food on land or plants on land or on ground were scarce or were insufficient or were no longer available easily to the giraffes. When such a situation happened, in order to survive, they have to eat, right? They are animals, they are living organisms. In order to survive, giraffes had to depend on food that was available on trees. They had to eat the leaves that were on trees. That is what you see here. What did they do for that? They just kept on stretching their neck in order to reach the tall trees, and kept stretching it on and on and on. Gradually, with every generation of giraffe, the stretching resulted in lengthening of the neck a little more. I wouldn't say that from this it directly went on to this length. Definitely not. It would gradually have been a very, very minute change with every generation, and ultimately we have the long-necked giraffe that we see today. Use or continuous use and stretching of the neck is what strengthens the muscles of the neck of the giraffe, and the neck became very, very strong. And yes, exactly, Ayush, it took millions of years for the giraffe to become a long-necked animal as compared to what its ancestors were. Yes, this is what Lamarck had to say. And he also gave examples of flightless birds, okay, like penguins, like ostrich. All of them, they are birds. Birds are generally adapted to fly, adapted for flight. But some birds, because they did not use their wings for many generations together for whatsoever reason, ended up eventually becoming flightless birds. Their wings are no longer strong compared to other birds. That is why we have flightless birds existing in today's world, according to Lamarck. Exactly, things which is not needed will disappear. Yes, it sounds very, very funny if you just looked at that sentence, but Yes, we will come to Darwin theory very soon. So, although it does sound funny, it's actually funny only if you think of it as happening with every generation. But imagine it's happening over millions of years, like Ayush said. Yes, and let's now look at the basic idea of Lamarckism at a glance. Internal urge, the giraffe, think of the giraffe example. It has the internal urge to survive, and because it has no other alternative, because of the environmental changes, because of scarcity of food, new needs. What is the new need? It has to take food from the treetop. And then disuse of organs, those giraffes which do not use their neck much end up just dying off and disappearing from the planet because they don't have enough food, as I said. But these giraffes worked very hard in order to reach the higher trees, and they managed to survive. That is what disuse of organs, the structures disappear. And inheritance of acquired characters, the same way if it is used constantly also. And eventually it leads to the origin of a new species which is very, very different from the old species. Yes. Okay, and now let us look at what vestigial organs are. Now, according to Lamarckism, organs that are no longer in need for a species do exist. Yes, that part of Lamarckism is definitely true. In that, we also have certain parts like that. Organs that are no longer in use for a species and have become non-functional, we call them vestigial organs. An example, a very good example in the human beings is the vermiform appendix. This part that you can see here is the vermiform appendix, which is an extension of the large intestine, but it's not used at all. It's just there as a result, as a remnant of some structure that the human ancestors had. Exactly. Shagun says wisdom teeth. Wisdom teeth are also a very good example. What are your wisdom teeth? Now, you guys are still young children. You are around 15, 16 years of age. Perhaps your wisdom teeth have not come yet. Usually for most people, it appears somewhere in the early 20s. Okay. For me, I don't even remember when I got my wisdom teeth. I don't even remember if it came through, because for many of my friends, I remember them saying that during college days, their gums were paining very badly because the wisdom teeth were coming through. Okay, so wisdom teeth are basically the third and the last pair of molars, which are useful in some people. In most people, they are not even used. So that is what we call wisdom teeth. And there is one more example that you can think of, which is the pinna, or the external ear in the case of human beings. In the case of elephants and many other animals, you see that the pinnae do have other functions also. They do perform the function of hearing also. But in the human case, the pinnae do not necessarily contribute to hearing. Right? It's actually the middle ear and the internal ear, or the inner ear, which perform the much more advanced functions. Pinna is just there as a structure. Okay? Rudimentary ear muscle. This is more like a rudimentary structure. The pinnae, or the external ears, and we can't even shake it. Of course, there are some people with some kind of strange mutation who can manage to shake their pinnae, but I'm not talking about them. I'm talking about the good majority of human beings who cannot even move their pinna, unlike other animals. So these are all examples for pinna is singular, pinnae is plural. Okay, yes, and pinnae is plural. And now let's talk about another scientist, August Weismann. What did he do? He just could not accept Lamarckism as such. Okay, so he is a new character who comes into the story, who comes into the picture now. What did he do? He, in fact, tried to disprove Lamarckism. What did he do? He performed experiments on mice, many generations of mice. In fact, he selected one as the male parent, one as the female parent. He amputated them, meaning he cut off their tails. He allowed them to mate, and he observed this over 19 generations. But with every generation he cut his tail, he noticed that the child, or the offspring, the baby rat was still born with a tail, disproving Lamarckism. Because according to Lamarck, loss of the tail is something that the rat achieved in its lifetime, and hence its child should have inherited the loss of tail. And today we should have had tailless mice, but that's not the case. All the rats we see around do have long tails, right? This is how August Weismann disproved Lamarckism, okay? And then came another English naturalist by the name Charles Darwin, okay? He is said to be the father of evolution. Now, what exactly did Darwin propose? Darwin proposed the theory of natural selection, which the world knows. Everyone knows about the natural selection proposed by Darwin. It's the principle by which each slight trait, if useful, is preserved by nature. What does that mean? Let's look at that. He published all his thoughts and observations in a book called On the Origin of Species around the year 1859. This was not just one sudden study. In fact, Darwin observed so many organisms, and it was in fact a voyage on a ship. He was traveling on a ship on a voyage, HMS Beagle, and he went to many different islands, and mainly based on one group of islands in South America called the Galapagos Islands is where Darwin finally came up with the most well accepted theory of evolution. Yes. And let's understand that, okay? So before that, before we summarize the postulates of Darwinism, have a look at this picture, okay? It's a beautiful English countryside picture, okay? What the English countryside, what London and many other European countries looked like many years ago, much before the 1820s, okay? But suddenly, anyway, just keep in mind that it was one of the most beautiful parts of the world. Lot of fresh air, lot of peace around, and in the European country, there was in fact a species of moth, okay? Peppered moth, it's commonly called Biston betularia. Okay, Biston betularia, commonly called the moth, the peppered moth. Okay, now what you see here are two different subspecies of this Biston betularia, one appearing dark grey, one appearing light grey. Now you would see around those times, you would see these species living along, sitting on a lot of trees in the English countryside. Okay, and now what happens? Look at it very carefully, okay? The trees are all beautiful. Which of these do you see more easily? You see the black version of the moth much easily than the lighter species, correct? That's because the trees behind it, the tree on which it is sitting, is much lighter as compared to its body. So obviously, this is something that predating birds would notice very easily. Predating birds would obviously pick up the darker colored insects and eat a very nice dinner and finish off. What about the lighter colored ones? They managed to escape their predators because they were not very easily seen, unlike their cousin here, unlike their brothers and sisters here who were much darker than them, because camouflage, mainly almost matching the surrounding colors. Exactly. And after this, something suddenly happened. After the 1820s, Industrial Revolution suddenly came into existence, which means all the manufacturing in the entire European continent shifted from being handmade to machine made, and there was pollution all around, a lot of carbon dioxide and a lot of unwanted gases being released in the atmosphere. The trees even ended up being very black because of charcoal deposits from all of these industries, and those trees which were looking like this ended up becoming like this. Can you imagine? Very sad sight, but this is a fact. In between 1820 and 1840, the English countryside became a very polluted place, appearing like this. Now, when this happened, what was the sudden change for peppered moths? It happened that the whiter cousins were much easily visible to the birds as compared to their black cousins. So the black ones were able to camouflage in the black surroundings, the polluted surroundings, whereas the white ones suddenly vanished from the entire neighborhood, the entire vicinity, slowly the number of the whiter species or the light grayer species kept on reducing because the birds were eating them up. This is what happened around the time of the Industrial Revolution, and that is what Darwin says: nature selected the fittest one. Because of environmental circumstances, the survival of the fittest, we are not talking about muscular fitness here, we are talking about who is more suitable to the surrounding atmosphere, who is more well adapted to the surrounding atmosphere. They would be automatically selected by nature because of different reasons. This is a very, very good story that explains natural selection. This was again another example that we can see. A population of mice has moved into a new area where the rocks are very dark, okay, and because of natural genetic variation, some mice are black, others are tan. You see dark and light colored mice there, right? And then some mice get eaten up by the birds. Obviously, who is more visible? The tan mice are more visible than the black mice, and hence they end up becoming lesser and lesser in number. Mice reproduce, giving the next generation, and hence we can say that nature has selected the black mice in order to survive in such a condition. That is as simple as the theory of natural selection. So again, let us put it step by step how you can write it in your exam. Exactly. Competition. There is a lot of competition. Think of the white moth and the black moth, the peppered moth. There is competition between them. What is next? Struggle for existence. They are both struggling to exist. Yes, and then what happens? Survival of the fittest. Ultimately, they struggle, they fight, they do all that they can, and ultimately survival of the fittest. Keep in mind you, it's not muscular fitness, it's fitness according to the natural surroundings that we are referring to here. And this is just a summary of the theory of natural selection by Charles Darwin. And this is a very, very well explained theory by Darwin. I think makes a lot of sense, right? Exactly. Yes, all about the survival of the fittest. And with that, let us have a quiz time and answer a few simple questions. See how much of it you've understood. The theory of inheritance of acquired characters was proposed by, yes, who is going to be giving me the answer first? A. Advai says A. Jai. Shilpi says Lamarck. Yes. Vinayak says Lamarck again. Hasini says A. Most of you say A. Okay, so let's look at the answer. Again, Jean-Baptiste Lamarck was responsible for the theory of inheritance of acquired characters. Okay, next question. The phenomenon by which nature chooses a trait over another due to survival advantages is called... Yes, guys, now don't give me the answer of the previous one. Focus on this question. There itself, I've given you a hint about what cannot be the answer. Okay. Yes, most of you say the answer is C, and it's absolutely right. Natural selection is the phenomenon by which nature chooses a trait over another due to survival advantages. Just think of the examples that we have learned today. Without blindly memorizing the postulates of the theory, write it in your own words, keeping in mind the stories that we have discussed. Yes. Yes, Khushi. Which of these is or are inherited traits? We have not exactly discussed what are acquired traits and inherited traits, but from your understanding, I told you what acquired traits can be. Inherited, what you have inborn. What can be the answer? Playing a sport, tanned skin, hair color, or do you think all of these are inherited traits? Hair color, somebody says D. Gopesh says all of these. Kanu Kumar says all of these. Yes. Jeff says D, again all of these. Okay, let's just look at that. Now, it's a misconception that wherever there's an option called all of these, many of you tend to think that is the answer, but that's not always the case. At least in my class, that's not always the case. You have to look at each option, carefully. Playing a sport, can it be an inherited trait? Your dad was a great football player. Does it mean by birth, without even practicing the game of football, you will also become a football player? Definitely not. So that's not an option. Tan skin. your dad went to a lot of very hot and humid beaches and had a very tanned skin. Were you born similar to your mom's or dad's natural complexion, or did you inherit the tanned skin? Definitely not. But hair color or hair texture can get inherited. So definitely all of these is not the answer, and hair color is our most appropriate option for this. And this is the homework question I have for the day. Explain the inheritance of long neck by giraffes as per Darwinism. I have explained to you how giraffes got their long necks based on Lamarckism. But based on Darwin's principles, how would you explain the inheritance of the long neck by giraffes? Let us see who wins the competition today. Yes, natural selection. I don't want a one word answer. Definitely we know Darwinism is natural selection, but I want you to explain in logical sequence, explain logically how Darwin says giraffe got its long neck. Okay? Yes, done. And guys, do not forget to download our learning app. Do keep track of the micro courses that we have for specific chapters out there. Do check out the link, because everything, all of them are easy to learn. Specific chapters, the best advantage is that you can pick up the chapter of your choice. Whatever hard chapter you find, just take up the micro course for that and you will be done. You will be able to master that particular chapter. And the code that you can use to avail a 95% off is AMMIC, which is a limited period offer. So do not miss it. And we have a longer term subscription called the Pro Lite Subscription. And this is for those of you who want unlimited access to all the amazing content we have on the Vedantu platform, wherein you will have control over all of these features. Manage your schedule, manage your own curriculum, which teacher you want to learn from, all the amazing question banks. We have quizzes, doubt sessions, assignments and whatnot. This is the link that you can check out, and the code that you can use in order to avail a good discount is AMSUB. Again, a limited period offer. And why is it important to go study from the smallest or the simplest manner to the most complex topics? That is because learning can be fun, right? That is exactly the catching line, the catch of all the ads that we have of the Vedantu itself, right? All of you must have been seeing it. समझ आएगा तो मज़ा आएगा तो ज़रूर समझ आएगा, right? We constantly and very strongly believe in that, and do stay in touch with us through the Telegram group using the link given below in the description box. Hit the like button, guys, if you have enjoyed today's session. And we will be continuing with the chapter evolution in the next session also. So do not miss it. And remember to share the link with all your ICSE friends and even CBSE. I think you also have a chapter called evolution. So do make it a point to attend the next session also. And subscribe to the channel Vedantu 9th and 10th. And again, in the meantime, I would love to hear from you on my email, ambika.gopalakrishnan@vedantu.com. And until we meet again, this is Ambika signing off. Happy studying and bye-bye.